All right, welcome to our explainer. Today we're diving into something that, let's be honest, probably keeps a lot of cloud managers up at night. Governance. I mean, how do you really maintain control when your teams have all this freedom to build pretty much anything they want in the cloud?
Think about it. You've handed your teams the keys to innovate in Azure, which is great. But what's stopping someone from, accidentally spinning up a wildly expensive server for a small test? Or how do you make sure everyone is following the exact same security standards? If you don't have a system for this, you're basically just flying blind.
And without that clear system, what you get is, well, it's cloud chaos. It's a super common problem, and it leads to some very real and often very expensive consequences.
And what are those consequences? Well, you get those surprise bills from unapproved resources, you get inconsistent tagging that turns cost allocation into a total nightmare, and worst of all, you end up with serious security gaps and compliance violations. It really is the Wild West of the cloud, and that's a risky place for any business to be.
But what if? What if you had an automated guard on duty 24/7, enforcing all your standards without you lifting a finger? This is where our hero, Azure Policy, enters the scene.
So what is it really? At its core, Azure Policy is the service where you define the official rulebook for your cloud. It's how you create, assign, and manage the specific rules that all of your Azure resources absolutely have to obey.
I love this way of thinking about it. Imagine you have a compliance officer who is always on, checking every single resource change in real time. This officer never gets tired, never takes a coffee break, and enforces your rules with perfect consistency every single time. Okay, now this part is vital to understand. Where does policy operate? It works on what we call the control plane. What that means is it only cares about the external configuration of a resource, things like its size, its location, or its tags. It doesn't look inside at the operating system or your applications. It's kind of like the difference between checking the blueprints of a house versus inspecting the furniture inside. So, how does this automated officer actually do its job? Let's break down the mechanics of how these rules are actually defined and enforced.
It's actually a surprisingly simple two-step process. First, you create the rule itself. That's called a policy definition. This is your rulebook. Then you apply that rule to a specific part of your environment, and that's called a policy assignment. That's it.
And you've got incredible flexibility in how you enforce things. A policy doesn't just have to be a big no. While deny does exactly that, it blocks an action completely. Audit is much gentler. It's like a tap on the shoulder, just flagging the issue for you to review later. And even more powerful are append and modify, which can automatically fix a resource to bring it back into compliance for you.
And when you assign a policy, you get to choose its scope. This is so critical. You could apply a rule really broadly to your entire organization, or you can target it with surgical precision, maybe just to a single subscription, or even just one resource group. This gives you incredibly fine-grained control.
Okay, so theory is great, but let's see how this actually works in the real world. We're going to look at one of the most common and most powerful use cases for Azure Policy.
Here's a classic scenario, and I bet a lot of you have been here. Your company has hundreds, maybe thousands of resources. How on earth do you keep them all organized and, more importantly, track who's spending what? The answer is resource tags. These simple little labels are the absolute backbone of good cloud management. They let you slice and dice your environment by department, by project, by owner, you name it. But, and this is a big but, they only work if everyone actually uses them consistently. So here's the before picture. A developer creates a new virtual machine, but they forget to add the cost center tag. Now what? Well, now your finance team has no idea which department to bill for this resource. The whole system just breaks down.
And here's the after picture with Azure Policy. Not only can policy require that tag on all new resources, it can even go back and fix the old ones. It can automatically find every single resource that's missing that cost center tag and just apply it for you. Boom, problem solved.
This cleanup crew is a feature called remediation, and it's just incredibly powerful. It doesn't just enforce rules going forward, it can actually go back in time and tidy up the mess that already exists, bringing your entire environment up to your new standard.
Now, policy is a total superstar, no doubt about it. But it's not the only tool in your governance toolbox. It's really important to see how it fits in with other key services.
A really common point of confusion is policy versus role-based access control, or RBAC. Here's the simplest way to think about it.
RBAC is the bouncer at the club. It checks your ID and decides who gets in the door. Policy, well, that's the building code. It doesn't care who you are, it dictates what you can build once you're inside. And you absolutely need both.
Another powerful tool is the resource lock. You can think of this as the ultimate safety net, a digital padlock you can place on your most critical resources to prevent those catastrophic oops moments.
There are two main types. A delete lock prevents anyone, and I mean anyone, even an account owner with full permissions, from deleting a resource. A read-only lock goes even further, preventing any changes whatsoever. This is exactly how you protect that mission-critical production database from an accidental click.
So as you wrap up, I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Is your cloud built on solid ground or on shifting sand? Because at the end of the day, proper governance, using tools like Azure Policy, is what transforms that chaotic environment into a stable, secure, and predictable foundation for your business.
Welcome back to our AZ-104 Azure Administrator series. I am Monar Mukul, and today we are diving into Lab 02B, managing governance via Azure Policy. So Lab 02B. So if you have ever wondered how large organizations keep thousands of Azure resources organized and compliant, you are in the right place. We'll explore tagging strategies, Azure policy enforcement, and resource logs, which actually all relate to Azure governance. Let's get started. So very first thing, picture a scenario. Your organization's code footprint has exploded over the past year. Resources are everywhere, but here is the problem. Nobody knows who owns that, which project they belong to, or which cost center should be built. Sounds familiar? Isn't that? This is a governance nightmare. So this is where Azure governance comes to the rescue. Today we'll implement 4 critical governance capabilities. First, applying resource tags to add metadata to our resources. Second, enforcing tag uses with Azure policy. So no resources are compliant from like day one. You can think of that one. Then third, it's coming like remediating existing resources that are missing tags. And fourth is protecting critical resources with resource lock. Now, before we jump into the portal, let me quickly explain what tags and policies actually are. So Azure tags are simply key value pairs. So think of them like labels you put on file folders. So each tag has a name and a value. As an example, think that cost center is 000 tells us whose department to bill. Environment, production, development. So it identifies production resources. Development identifies development resources. UAT identifies like user acceptance test department. Then owner, for example. So you can give an email or ID or name so that you know who is actually responsible. So beauty of tag is that they are completely customizable to your organizational like needs. They appear in cost reports, help with automation, and make searching for resources incredibly easy. And here is something important. Tags are not inherited by default. If you tag a resource group, the resources inside it would not automatically get those tags. But don't worry, we'll use Azure Policy to solve that one. So now let's talk about Azure Policy. This is your governance enforcement engine. Think of Azure Policy as a security guard at a club. It checks every resources creation attempt against your rules. If a resources does not meet your requirements, it gets rejected. No exemption. So how actually Azure Policy works? You define a policy, then you create a policy assignment that applies the rules to a specific scope. Then Azure evaluates every resources against the rule. no compliant resources are flagged. Like if something is non-compliant, so those resources will be flagged or blocked. So Microsoft provides so many built-in policies for common scenarios, and you can create custom one too. The best part, policies can not only block non-compliant resources but also automatically fix them. We'll see this in action with our tagging scenarios. So all right, let's get our hands ready. Here I have already connected to Azure Portal. So first you need to connect to Azure Portal. Now search here. You can search here if you don't see down below that it's available, that resource group. Select on resource group. Select create. So this is to creating a resource group. So now give a name. So under basic tab, there is a subscription. Then give a subscription name. First resource group name. Let's give a name and select the East US. This is based on my lab environment, but you can select which is a business requirement or which is close to you. Then click next. So here is coming tag. So you can see that you need to give a name and the value. So let's give a name cost center and give a value. For example, just give a value 000 and then click on review and create and click on create. But when I go back here, I can do many texts, as many texts as I want. You can put another one and do that one. So for my lab environment, this one is fine for showing you. Then click on review and create and then click on create. So resource is going to be created. So you can see resource group created. And now, but remember, the text only exists on the resource group itself, not on any resources we created inside it. So if we go to resource group, like from here, resource group, go back here, resource manager. Let me refresh the page. Maybe later. This is the resource group. Now, if you go to that under resource group, that there is a text, you can see that text is there. Now, if I put cost center dev development environment, click on apply, you can edit that one. Now, what we are going to do, enforcing tags with Azure Policy, which ensures nobody can create resources without the proper tags. So for that, we need to create a policy. So search for here, policy into search portion, select on policy. Now on the left side bar under authoring, if you expand, select the definition. And now look here. If you see these are the policy, and if you see the types, you can see those. There are static types, built-in types, also category. So you can get more information here. So you see that there are many like built-in policies. So Microsoft provides hundreds of them covering security, compliance, cost management, and more. So you have got policies for different things. Instead of scrolling, let me search for our specific policy that I'm going to use that require a tag. So go up, search here that require a tag. So here it is. Let me click on this, and you can get the like a policy definition here. So this definition, it's a JSON file. You can see that it has got all the properties, parameters, and what it accepts. Then you can see tag value. So you can go through like effect, which is deny, meaning it will block resource creation. And you can also see different conditions based on that one. Now, second tab, you can see that there is a assignment options and there is a parameter options. Now, let's go up, click on assign policy so that you can see the policy. So click on assign policy. Now, when we assign the policy, then option is coming like the scope, which level of scope we want to give. So we have selected subscription. Then you can select the exclusion that we are going to do, and exclusion override, requires tag, its values and resources. Then select next. Select the tag name and tag value. So under basic tab, under scope, so let's select our subscription and select the resource group. Then policy definition, give an assignment name, give a description, policy enforcement is enabled, then click next. Now here under parameter, give a tag name, give a tag value, click next. Under remediation tab, is that manage identity, make sure that that is unchecked. Click on next. Then verify that here nothing we are changing, we are not adding any comments. Click on review and create. Now click on create. So you can see that policy assignment has been successful. Policies don't take effect instantly. Azure needs, it can take sometimes 5 to 10 minutes to propagate the policy across all resources. And this is normal. It's just how the Azure policy service works at its scales. So let me fast forward and we'll test if our policy is working. All right. let's test this one. I will search for storage account. Click create. So resource group I have selected, then give a storage account name like AZ-104 storage. Then next. Just consider everything's default for now. Let's go to tagging. I'm not giving the tag information here. So now if I click the review and create, so 5 minutes has not passed yet, so it can stuck here, or it can pass that one. So here you see the validation failed, view error details. If I select that one, so it's saying that this is related to tag. So this is exactly what we want. The policy is doing its job, blocking any resource creation that does not have the required cost center tag with the value 000. So this is Azure policy in action, preventing non-compliant resources from ever being created. No manual oversight needed here. Okay, that first policy was great for blocking bad resources, but what if we want to be more helpful? Like, what if we could automatically add the tag instead of just saying no? That's where policy remediation comes in. So let me go back to Azure Policy again. Under authoring, click the assignments. So this will see like what our active total assignments there. You can see that initiative assignments, policy assignments. So to see our active policies here. And one policy is there that require cost centers, tag its value on resources. But let's do something like better way of doing that one. That for click on that ellipse button and delete this assignment. Click yes. So assignment has been deleted. Now click on assign policy. Now select the scope level. Select subscription. Select resource group. Select. Now here is the policy definition. Let's select this ellipsis button. And now we are searching for so here is the policy. This policy is fundamentally different from the last one. The previous policy denied resources without tax, and this policy modifies resources by adding tax automatically. So it looks at the parent resource group, finds the tag there, and copies it to any child resources that's it's missing it. So much more elegant, isn't that? So now select that one and click Add to select this policy. So now here give the assignment name, give a description, make sure policy enforcement is enabled, click next, and this parameter section, here is that there is a tag name, give a tag name, then click next. Under remediation section is that create a remediation task, so enable that one and select policy to remediate. So here inherited tag from the resource configuring is missing. Then non-compliance message, we are not adding anything, which is empty, default one. Then click on review and create. When validation, no issues with validation, click on create. The policy we have created with a remediation task. So if we see the remediation tab, so you can see that remediation state is complete. So now let's create a storage account. Click on storage account. Give a storage account name. All others properties I am just considering default. Click on review and create. So click on create. So deployment is complete. If I go to resource, and if I see the tag here, I don't see that tag is automatically adding here. Like so we can add that tag also. So what you need to do, click on add tag. So tag is available. What you see, that cost center tag become available, and we can add that one by selecting that option. Click on save. So that tag become available, and then you can add that here. So if I refresh the page, I can see that storage account has got that now tag in here, also tags there. So that's the option that we can, that become available, and we can use that one. Now we'll do configure and test a resource log. For that one, let's go to resource group. And if you see under settings, there is a logs option. Select that one and click on add. Now log-wise, there are two options. One is read only, another one is delete. So let's first delete option with that one. Give a name. You can give some note. Click on OK. So log has been created. Now if you go to this overview blade and try to delete this resource group, copy that resource group name, select under enter resource group name to confirm deletion, click delete. And here is the message that the resource group is locked and cannot be deleted. So this is delete protection. Now let's go back again to lock. There is other type of lock. Let's edit that one, that we can do read only. So in that case, it will allow to read only, like someone we don't want to give that read write operations. So in that case, we set this up. And delete thing that there may be some thing that we don't want other to delete. For that option, this is locked level. Now, but if we need to remove that lock, we can click delete. So lock will be removed. So that's it for this lab. See you in next lab.